Yeah.
not only the students, to the rest of the
Mm.
public also.
Yeah, true.
Mm.
Mostly I'm into pre-placement training, training them for employment. I thought that will help them and give me some satisfaction.
Yes, true. Yeah. Mm.
So how does it go, sir? 1 hour and towards the end?
It's 1
shall I
hour
give
session,
some-
madam. It's
Okay,
1 hour
towards
session.
the end, any questions from the
Yeah.
participants?
I'll
Okay.
raise the questions and you are please supposed to answer.
Yeah. Okay. So how does it go, sir? 1 hour and towards the end?
It's 1
shall I
hour
give
session, madam. It's
Okay,
1 hour.
towards the end, any questions from the
Yeah.
participants?
I'll raise the questions and you are please supposed to answer.
Yeah. Okay. So how does it go, sir? 1 hour and towards the end?
It's 1 hour session, madam. It's
Okay,
1 hour.
towards the end, any questions from the
Yeah.
participants?
I'll raise the questions and you are please supposed to answer.
Yeah. Okay. So how does it go, sir? 1 hour and towards the end?
1 hour session, madam. It's
Okay,
1 hour.
towards the end, any questions from the
Yeah.
participants?
I'll raise the questions and you are please supposed to answer.
Yeah. Okay. So how does it go, sir? 1 hour and towards the
It's 1 hour session, madam. It's 1
Okay,
hour.
towards the end, any questions from the participants?
I'll raise the questions and you are please supposed to answer.
Yeah. Okay. Why is it repeating so many times? Anything wrong?
I think some technical issue there.
Oh, yeah.
That's why. Probably it can be resolved.
Sir, actually my YouTube volume is on. That's why it's repeating the thing.
Okay.
Sorry for that. Ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
Your YouTube is now it's on, sir?
Live, sir.
Oh, good. Will you please share the YouTube link?
Yeah. Can I share on a chart, sir?
No problem. You please share it and also you please share to Priya madam.
I shared to Priya ma'am. Priya ma'am, sir. So she will share it. Okay.
Okay.
Can I share the PPT, ma'am? Once you request, you please ping me. Okay.
Madam, probably madam will tell whenever it is required. PPT.
Okay. Fine.
Oh.
Am I clear, sir? I'm not wearing any headphones or earphones. Just wanted to clarify once. Am I clear?
You're absolutely good, madam.
Thank you, sir.
The last time what was happening, YouTube link was not given actually due to some technical issues.
Okay.
Many people are not able to view because this Zoom is giving limited members acceptance. So we requested these technical people to give the Zoom link that I'm going to share you. In turn, you please share that to your circle.
My contacts. Okay, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, I have shared, madam. YouTube link.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. They can directly click and then watch.
Okay.
Madam, shall we initiate the program?
Yes, sir. I'm ready.
Okay. Very good afternoon to one and all. Today, it's a very great day for all of us. One of the most experienced, eminent, and talented personality is accepted to be the speaker for this program. Professor I. Padmini Madam from Hyderabad. She is going to be the resource person for today's event. Inspiring Young Leaders session. It's one of the good program initiated by Association of Indian Management Schools. The today's topic is valuing diversity communication in a multicultural business environment, in which the madam is going to cover what is the significance and importance of the communication in today's world, particularly business world, and how it is more useful, diversified communication, and particularly to talk to the people at higher authority, and intercultural communication and cross-cultural communications, and especially the decision makers, better problem solving purposes, how this communication and multi-communication is useful, that the madam is majorly covering. Madam is having a vast experience of 4 decades in academics as well as research and administration. With her expertise and experiences, she is going to have all these kind of sessions, and she's a distinguished speaker for the soft skills, and she wrote 4 books in communication. She's a professional trainer for many different employees and organizations. So, and she's also soft skill trainer and a pre-placement trainer, motivator, career counselor, and she had many clients like Delight, and she delivered her lectures to many different training organization people. So, coming to the today's organizers, Association of Indian Management Schools and Business Standard, together is taking initiation to conduct this program. Association of Indian Management Schools is one of the prominent organization in the entire country, which is having more than 700 members, including IIMs and something ISB, IBS, XLRI, other prominent B schools throughout the country. And it's mainly promoting the business education and business management studies to the rural areas, and organizing faculty development programs, workshops, seminars, encouraging the students as well as faculty and management institutions, and giving some financial assistance. And if any problems connected to management education, it will bring to the notice of the government and try to resolve there itself. And one of the flagship activity of AIMS, Association of Indian Management Schools, is conducting annual convention. And in that convention, it's going to invite all its members and eminent speakers, and conducting some competitions and distributing the cash prizes. And even the speakers from abroad is invited to share their views and thought processes on the given topic. Not only that, to the people who are aspiring to get admissions into B schools, particularly IIMs and all, it is initiating one of the tests which is called as Atma test. So through this Atma test conducting by AIMS, people have an opportunity of getting admissions into IIMs. This is one of the major initiative of the AIMS. Apart from all these, from the COVID onwards, it took an opportunity of conducting this online kind of programs like this knowledge sharing sessions, young leader sessions, and all these, which is actually reaching to academicians, students, and other business people for many different purposes. And coming to the business standard, the media partner which is joining hands actually to organize this event very smoothly and then exhibit the entire program into the newspapers by covering the media and all these, making this kind of fruits reaching all the public and all. So we should be very thankful to the administrators of the business standard. And also behind the screen, our secretary of AIMS, Professor Durga Prasad Garu, is the director of EJM, is playing a bigger role and active role in organizing such good programs. And Priya Madam, being the coordinator of this program, she took a lot of initiative of integrating the people and connecting the people throughout all the activities, and all the technical people also there in this particular program. So before I hand over the mic, myself is Dr. A. Adisesha Reddy, head of the Department of Master Business Administration, Lakshmi Reddy College of Engineering, Mylavaram, acting as Secretary of AIMS AP Chapter. Now, I would like to hand over the mic to Madam to continue the session. Over to Professor Padmini Madam. And I request all the participants to please stay back till the end of the program and put your doubts and something, whatever you wanted to ask Madam, into the chat box, so that Madam probably will cover all the points at the end of the program at 4 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for the lovely introduction. And thank you so much, first of all, to AIMS, Dr. Durga Prasad, for inviting me as a speaker to this occasion, and the coordinator and the moderator for taking interest in the topic and doing all the follow-up activities. It's my pleasure to interact with all of you on this gracious occasion. And can I start, sir?
Yes, Madam. Yes.
Okay. Now,
whenever you want PPT, you please ask so that the technical person will play it.
Yes. Now, before I actually begin, I always like to start my sessions with a story. So let me start with a story. This is, let us imagine a forest full of birds. Okay. So there are a lot of penguins, and we know how the penguins are. When they move in a uniform manner. They have a particular gait, and there are a lot of penguins in the sea of organizations, and they are actually the carriers of the organization's burden. So the uniformity, the regularity, and the movement of the penguins is appreciated by everybody. So we can take them as the middle level and top level executives of any organization. So they are very much appreciated. And on the other hand, we also have worker birds, who are actually having their own colors of costumes and outfits that reflected their working style. So this is an organization full of penguins and different colored birds. Let us imagine that. One day, into the organization entered a peacock. Initially, everybody was attracted towards the peacock because we know how the peacocks are. They're very colorful. Their gait is very attractive. They have, they are full of beauty, full of attraction, and they have the capacity to draw people towards them. Similar things happen in the organization also. Creative people enter. When things happen in a normal way, you have somebody who enters with all creativity, innovative ideas, trying to influence everybody. Initially, all of us get attracted. But later, probably, some gap happens between both of them. The peacock starts thinking that this is a boring organization full of penguins, which are mediocre, not giving me any scope for creativity. On the other hand, penguins might think that the peacock is trying to throw off its weight and it is trying to attract people, it is trying to influence people and not bothering too much about them. This kind of gap is created since all of us know that familiarity beats contempt. Now, days pass on and what seemed attractive at one point in time becomes unattractive very soon. But is this going to affect the organization in any way? I don't think so. The organizations have to move on. They will continue to move on. Because in an organization, you have penguins, which are actually stable and manage the organizations to move forward. You have peacocks, which are very creative, trying to put in their new ideas and attract people. And at the same time, you have different kinds of birds, like you have, sparrows, which are small birds doing their own business, becoming neutral. You have, pigeons. These pigeons are generally peacekeepers. Whenever there's a difference of opinion, they try to interfere and try to make peace. And at the same time, you have birds like ostriches, which bury themselves in their own work, unmindful of anything that is happening around. Now, I have drawn this analogy, my dear participants, only to draw your attention to different kinds of people that are present in an organization. We require peacocks because they add color, they bring creativity. And at the same time, we require penguins because they maintain balance of the organization. And at the same time, we require pigeons, we require sparrows, we require ostriches, and many, many different kinds of birds. That is because when we learn to accept each other's differences, that is when we are all trying to move on together. I'm sure all of us must have been familiar with this proverb, birds of a feather flock together. But I feel this is not true anymore. Birds of different feathers can work together in harmony. This is the moral of the story. And that is what is true of every organization these days, because organizations value diversity. And if we don't accept this diversity, it's very difficult for us to survive in an organization. So today's topic is all about diversity. And I now request whoever is operating the PPT, the technical person, to just operate my PPT for yourself. I'm going to cover diversity in different areas. Diversity, what exactly is diversity? What are the different phases of diversity? Why diversity is important? What are the clashes created because of diversity? And how we have to tackle it. So let us go to slide 1, please. Slide 1. Slide 2. Now, what are the advantages of diversity? We all know that we are living in a globalized world, and global exposure is essential for all of us. irrespective of what kind of position you are in. Because when we have global exposure, we are exposed to broader range of views and ideas. And also, we are having a better understanding of different varieties of markets. And for HR people, definitely it's going to be a broader pool of talent. So they are going to have different people from different walks of life, and definitely the organizations are going to benefit because of the broader pool of talent. Next slide, please. These are the advantages of diversity that all of us should understand. Now, what is culture? All of us know culture as one kind of system where people belonging to the same culture share some symbols, beliefs, attitudes, values, expectations, and behavior norms. That means if I say I belong to a culture, Indian culture, let us say, if I say I'm belonging to an Indian culture, I share whatever is common for that culture. And within this culture, there are definitely subcultural groups. That means if I belong to one age group, my age group becomes my subculture. If I am an English faculty member, all the people teaching English or all the people who are teaching soft skills, we belong to one subculture. Academicians belong to one subculture, industry people belonging to another subculture. So within the culture, we have subcultures, divisions based on our occupations, our working styles, our age, our sexual orientation, our gender. These days, we have so many WhatsApp groups. Why do we join a WhatsApp group? That is because, we have a common interest. We want to be part of that group which has common interests. That is how we have Facebook groups, WhatsApp groups, and things like that. These are all called subcultural groups. Now, when we say culture, what are the different things that influence our culture? First, I don't know whether these are negative influences or positive influences, but we need to understand three types of very formidable influences that shape our cultural beliefs. The first one is ethnocentrism. What do you mean by ethnocentrism? This is tendency to judge people according to our customs. Take for example, I belong to India and I belong to one type of cultural setup. Okay. What do? I try to judge even the Westerners from my cultural point of view. This is what is called as ethnocentrism, trying to judge people of other cultures from our point of view. The second one is called xenophobia. This is fear of strangers and foreigners. In the story that I have just shared, Peacock was a stranger. So when Peacock entered the organization, everybody was struck in awe of Peacock initially. But later, they started either hating or talking ill of the Peacock, or, not in favor of whatever ideas are put forth by peacocks. The third type of influencer is stereotyping. That means we attributing qualities based on membership to a particular group. What does that mean? That means I'm taking the age group because it is very easy for us to connect. See, if I am in the, say, 60s, I feel that all people having the age group of 60s will behave in the same way. Or all people who are modern, Gen Y, Gen Z, youngsters, we generally, we have this generation gap, the youngsters blaming the elders blaming the youngsters. So we think that all youngsters are irresponsible, or the youngsters think that all the aged people are, old fashioned, they keep theoretizing, they keep preaching and things like that. This is what is called stereotyping. So these three things we have to understand, because unless we know what they are, and if they are actually acting as negative influences, unless we try to get rid of these, we cannot have cultural, broad-mindedness. We will not be inclusive in cultural acceptance. Next slide, please. So having known all the different kinds of influencers, let us understand what are the different factors that influence intercultural communication. The first and foremost one is language, then context, social customs, non-verbal signals, age, gender, religion, ability, rules of human relationships. I have to quickly read through these things because in the following slides, I am going to elaborate on each one of them and trying to make understand what exactly they mean. I'm not going to talk much about language because we know that language is definitely a barrier in intercultural communication. We all know very much about it. So I'm not going to talk much about it. The next one that I want to emphasize is context. What do I mean by context? Generally, if you look in the overall global perspectives, we have what are called high context cultures and low context cultures. What do you mean by high context culture? Less verbal communication. That means they talk less and they depend more on non-verbal cues or relationships. I can take all the Asian countries, they come under this bracket because we use a lot of facial expressions, we use a lot of gestures. The Asian societies in general, they rely a lot on relationships. So we think that even if we don't express much, even if there is not too much verbal communication, these non-verbal cues take care of all the communication part. Then we have low context cultures where there are more verbal communication, explicit statements, and they rely less on non-verbal cues. So mostly the Western countries, European nations, Germany, all these come under low context cultures. That means they depend less on situation or body language and they depend more on verbal communication. That is why if they want to say no, they say firmly without hurting anybody. Because they feel in their culture, it is always better to be direct in communication. Whereas in a country like India, we hesitate a lot to say no. Because in our culture, somehow that is not acceptable. So we need to understand high context cultures and low context cultures. Many of us in future may be interacting with a lot of people from global environment. Immediately we may not, but later during the course of our careers, at least once we may have chance to interact with people of different cultures. So in that case, we need to know some cultural nuances in order to be very comfortable when we are interacting with people from other cultures. So this is what is called as context, which influences intercultural communication. And the next slide talks about social norms and customs. Definitely, this also need not be explained too much because we know society shapes individuals. So the customs that are there in society, the societal norms influences culture. And among the social norms, there are some trigger points which actually shape our personality and culture. The first and foremost is attitude towards work and success. This is very much important because in the workplace, we generally feel, how is it that some people get all the rewards, some people climb up the career ladder very fast, some people get all the recognition while others don't. This is generally a feeling, and this comes up each time there is an appraisal. So the society from where we come, the kind of importance it gives to work and success shapes our work culture. The second one, Roles and status. Definitely yes. In a workplace, the ranks in the society, the ranks in the organization, that is superior and subordinate relationships, they shape our culture. What kind of, importance we are giving to these social ranks. And not only that, most importantly, attitude towards women. Now, most of us are talking about breaking the glass ceiling, occupying places of importance and things like that. So how much importance is given to women? This also shapes our culture. Now, why this is important? I'll give you a simple example here. Imagine if we are working in an academic environment, we are accustomed to being called by, some term of respect like sir, madam, and things like that. But if you work in a, corporate environment, no matter what your age is, people call you by your first name. So if you don't accept this kind of a, changeover, it will be very difficult for us to accept even a small thing like being called by your first name. We might get offended. What is my age? Why are they calling me by my first name? This might be a kind of feeling that starts. And once it goes aboard, it is very difficult for us to focus on the workplace. And the third one is use of manners. Now, what is manners to me in my setup may not be true in the other culture. So rules of polite behavior change from region to region, country to country, society to society. And the next one is concept of time. Very clear, there is a lot of demarcation and difference with which we view time. And that difference is seen between the Western and Asian societies. In Asian societies, we can be a little relaxed with time, but in Western societies, it's not that. So if you're going from a Western society and you expect people to be on dot in a, in an Asian setup, you might be disappointed. The next one is openness and inclusiveness. This is very important. We need to accept people from other cultures. This is true of not just one particular country. This is across the globe, because sometimes lack of openness, lack of influence, lack of inclusiveness might hinder a person's progress. We can see, I mean, in academic environments, we can see a lot of students, the moment they enter a class, they look for people who are from their place, who talk their own language, who are, somewhere related or friends through somebody, some contacts. You don't find students, going alone confidently to the class and coming out alone confidently. This may be true of workplace also. So unless we have openness and inclusiveness, we won't be able to move confidently in a workplace. And the next one is future orientation. Now, this is true of companies. At the beginning of every financial year, some companies expect to have the long-term planning, maybe for the entire year or maybe coming 2-3 years. Whereas some other companies might look for short-term planning. So future orientation also has a lot to shape our culture. So these are all the things that we need to follow. We need to make a note of, when we are talking about intercultural communication. And the next slide, please. And one very important thing is nonverbal communication. Whenever we ask people, what do you mean by communication? People say it is talking, because most of us even now give importance only to verbal communication. We forget to realize that non-verbal communication actually is nearly 80% of communication. Only 20% is verbal. Almost 80% is non-verbal. The way you look at people, the kind of greeting you give, the eye contact, the smile, the kind of dressing, all these actually are the cues that you are giving non-verbally to a person of a different cultures. The first and foremost among this is greeting. As we enter the organization, how many of us are confident enough to just throw a greeting at everybody? You will be surprised, not many of us do it. Even if we go and greet somebody, people are not ready to accept it because they belong to a different culture and they think this is not important. First and foremost thing, I've recently read a book, 72 tricks of communication in an organizational success. The author clearly mentioned 72 tips, literally. You go and do this, go and do this, go and do that, because this is what is actually stopping you from going where you want to go. And, the first thing that she said is, greeting is very important. Each culture, each community, each country has its own way of greeting. Some countries shake hands, some countries bow, some countries fold hands, some countries have a peck, which means kissing gently. Whatever may be, greeting at the first meeting of a person is very important. This is a very important aspect of nonverbal communication. And personal space. Now, in some cultures, they have a habit of standing too close. But in some other cultures, they feel standing too close to a person is actually trespassing their personal space. So you need to understand, depending on the culture, how welcome is it to stand too close. The third one, touching. Maybe in Asian cultures, touching is accepted, but in Western cultures, it is actually misinterpreted as sometimes domineering. That means if a senior person touches the junior, even if it is on the shoulder, slight touch, they feel that, because he's a senior, he's trying to dominate me. Or because he has too many new ideas, he thinks he can overpower me. So touch also is regarded like that. Or sexual. Don't think it is opposite sexes. These days, because of LGBTQ, even people of the same sex cannot touch each other because sexual connotations are taken from the touch also. The next one is facial expression. Now, in India, when we meet a person, if we know a person, we try to smile. Even if we don't know a person, we think it is polite to smile because we don't like to go with a frown, no? Whenever we go to a party, whenever we go to a workplace, we don't like to enter with a frown. So we feel we have to smile. But in some cultures, even smile is mistaken. So you can't smile at everyone. And even if you are angry, you are not supposed to frown. You are not supposed to show a frown on your face. So keeping the facial expressions under your control definitely is very important in global workplace. Now, I'm saying global workplace. No, it is even indigenous workplaces. Even when we go to our offices, we should learn to do, earlier it was intercultural. Now I think it is uniform everywhere. Wherever we go, we are supposed to maintain some decency, some cultural nuances, and all these come under that. Now, eye contact. Generally, when we teach students, we teach them that if you are addressing an audience, you need to maintain eye contact uniformly to the entire crowd. Because proper eye contact always shows honesty. But in some cultures, if there is a one-on-one meeting, Eye contact actually is a strict no, because we feel that we need to talk to a person. If you don't look at the person directly and then talk to him, it's an insult to the person. We think like that. But in some cultures, they actually consider it as aggressiveness. You are not supposed to look straight into the eye. Posture. How you sit in the office. What is your posture? Determines your communication style. Dress, the kind of dress that you wear. In Western cultures, formal dressing generally encompasses only 3 colors: black, navy blue, and gray. But here in India, for us, it actually doesn't matter so much. We try to wear sober colors, pastel colors to workplace. Power dressing, we call, whatever you call it. Dressing definitely has a sense of formality that shows the culture. Next one, something that is very important, something which is very close to my heart, is age differences. These days, organizations have different age groups of people working. And how we actually coordinate with all these age groups, different age groups, with different thought processes, with different ideas, is very, very important. Now, let me now show what are all the age groups that are present in the organizations these days, and what are their characteristics. First of all, we have silent generation, people born from 1928, 1945. From 1928 to 1945, in that age group, they're very small in number, but they are still working. They continue working. Probably they are in the board of directors. Probably they are in the administrative positions, but they are very few, very small in number, but they continue to work. Then you have what are called baby boomers, born between 1946 to 1964. Now, they still continue to work in top management positions. So they all will be 60 plus. Let me put it that way. 60 plus age group. Then you have Generation X, 1965 to 1980. We call them Gen X, but this generation is actually regarded as a transition between two groups, baby boomers and the next group, millennials. So they are just transitioning. So it is very difficult for them because they need to balance both baby boomers. They cannot hurt the seniors, nor can they go against the wishes of the millennials. So Gen X now in the present workplace perform the balancing act. Then we have millennials, 1981 to 1996. Gen Y, we call them. They have a lot of entrepreneurial instincts. See, most of the startups, I think these are the people who actually come with a view of, having their own business or starting something on their own rather than working under somebody. Then we have post-millennials, 1997 till date. We call them Gen Z or Gen Z, just moving into the workforce, very naive, very fresh, trying to understand the organizational culture. So imagine an organization having silent generation to post-millennials. I feel educational institutions are a best example of this. They have different kinds. Even, they don't enter the workforce, but, they are in their teens. And maybe you may have faculty members who are in their 60s, about to retire. So trying to actually strike a balance between age differences, thought differences, behavior differences is definitely a challenge. And the next one, next slide, please, gender differences. After age comes the gender. Earlier, we used to see the perception of men and women because these are the two prevailing dominating genders in the creation. We can observe that at the entry level, the ratio of men and women is almost equal because when they enter the workforce, the women also, actively participate. But as they grow to the higher levels, the men workforce becomes more than female because women get married, their maternity, taking care of children. With all these domestic responsibilities, they try to give less importance to careers, and that is why as we grow up the career ladder, we can see that the males dominate the workforce. Now they are trying to actually mitigate the difference by giving more SOPs and encouragements to women. And that is why more and more career women also have started entering the workforce, and they are maintaining the careers without trying to give any break. Why I am saying this is men and women, they have different communication styles because men always emphasize on outcomes, results. Women are more empathetical, they are more emotional, they are more impulsive, and they focus more on relationship. So there are different communication styles. So if an organization is dominated by men, the communication style is different. And if an organization is dominated by women, definitely there is a different kind of communication style. And we also should understand that gender has become now outdated. As I was telling earlier, now we have LGBTQ, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and question. So these are all becoming job applicants and employees. So it is a very challenging task for everyone, all of us, when we are working in an organization, it's very important for us to take care of all these differences and trying to work with all kinds of differences. The next one, all of us know religious and ability differences. One of the most personal, one of the most conflicting, and one of the most controversial differences is religious difference. We think we are advanced, we don't take it personal, but we all know that this is something which is very personal to us, religion. And ability differences also. These days, again, as I said, just like we have LGBTQ, we also have differently abled persons entering the workforce. I don't know how many of us have watched the movie Srikanth. Very inspiring movie. How a visually impaired person, overcame all the obstacles that came on his way, created an empire of his own, and then gave jobs, employment to thousands of people, even appreciated by a person like Abdul Kalam. So with this kind of inspirational people, behaving like this amidst us, more and more people with physical impairments started taking inspiration from them, challenging themselves, and then entering the workforce. So we have people with some impairment in hearing or vision, or some cognitive or physical disability, or neurodiversity, some autistic people, social anxiety, all these are depression, all these have become common, and people also started accepting all of them without pointing out fingers at them, not even showing sympathy. We are not showing sympathy. We are only showing empathy, making them understand their situation in a better way and trying to enfold them actually into the organization. So we need to accept religious and ability differences also. Now, I have just tried to show you what are all the diversifying factors that actually are there in an organization. Now I'm going to just show you I'm going to wrap it up by telling you what are all the different ways. How do we accept this kind of diversity? Next slide, please. How do we embrace diversity? First of all, we all need to understand that cultures are pluralistic. That means this world is full of different cultures. Now, I will tell you one example. Just our palms. We all have 5 fingers. Just imagine if the 5 fingers are of the same size. Would you like it? I don't think so. We think that there is some disability. That's why all the fingers are equal on a particular person. So that is how the society also is. The society is full of individuals having different individual personalities. We need to understand there is cultural pluralism, accepting multiple cultures and accepting their cultures and their norms is very important. If you don't embrace diversity, it is going to be very, very difficult. I will just give you 2 examples from the industry. You know, L'Oreal. I'm sure L'Oreal is a very famous brand. All of us know it. Most of us use the product also. When L'Oreal first introduced, L'Oreal is a brand from Paris, France. So when they first introduced their products, France is a culture of openness. So when they introduced a product, they expressed everything. They described the product with all openness, which is not very well taken in a country like China, because China was a communistic country and they are Asian, and so their cultural norms are different from France. So L'Oreal Paris actually gave special training to all executives going to China because they know China is a big market for them. And if the Chinese don't accept them, their products are going to fail. So all the executives who promoted the L'Oreal products in China were given special cultural training in order to embrace the culture of the country that they are visiting. One more example I can quote here. After the 9/11 attacks, Pepsi and Coke were not, I don't say banned because the country never said openly that they are going to ban these products. But people by themselves, did not buy any of these products in the Middle East, and all the Middle Eastern countries, the sales dropped like anything. Both Pepsi and Coke were not taken after the 9/11 attacks because the sentiments of the people were hurt. So we need to understand that there are different cultures, there are different mindsets, and we need to accept everyone and everything. If I have to be a successful corporate employee, I need to understand and accept everything. So we need to practice cultural pluralism. The second and very important thing is avoid assumptions. Please resist automatic impulses from your own culture, because our culture has ingrained so many thought processes in our mind. So if you see a person from a different caste or different religion or a different culture, the first thing we do is we withdraw. We don't like to mix with them. We don't like to talk to them because we feel that our culture is good and their culture is bad. Please avoid this kind of automatic impulses and avoid judgments. When people act differently, don't think they are wrong or inferior. Simple example, if, I'm just quoting this because, this is something which we all know. If in a system of marriage, we all consider a man to be older than the wife. This is a cultural norm anywhere. But if you see a woman older than a man in a marriage, immediately we think, something is wrong with them. How can she go and marry, a man who is 7 or 8 years younger than her? It's a taboo, according to us. It's a social stigma. Don't try to do it. If a person from one caste marries the other, immediately, there is some kind of social ostracization, social boycott, some kind of resistance. Please avoid all these things. When people act differently, we have to understand that it is their judgment. Let them use their judgment. Let them do whatever is good to them. We are not the people to judge them. And the next thing we need to understand, acknowledge distinctions. We have to, so many factors I have mentioned so far. Please understand that all these are there. They exist. And we need to accept them. And the last slide for today, the next slide, please. How do we embrace diversity? And these are definitely points that we need to think over. First of all, introspect. Introspect into your personality and please make a SWOT analysis, your strengths, your weaknesses. What are you good at? What are you bad at? What are your biases, social biases, cultural biases? Understand how you are shaped because of your culture. I am not asking you to give up the culture because definitely culture is our identity. We can't give up the culture. But we need to try to make some modifications because we have to go with the times. Otherwise, we will be left far behind the others. So for our own good, we need to understand our biases and try to correct them if they are wrong. Or if you are not in favor of something, just be quiet. The next one, treat the people the way they want to be treated, not the way you want to be treated. Do you all remember the golden rule? We all grow up, saying that treat the people the way you want to be treated. This is how we all grew up. This is the golden rule that we all followed so far. But please give up your golden rule. Treat the people the way they have to be treated, not the way you have to be treated, because you are different from them. So the golden rule has to change. Be accommodating and respectful, even if you don't understand or agree. Many points of view probably you are not in favor of, but don't express your disagreement immediately. If you are trying to interact with people of other cultures, please study their cultures, businesses and political, legal cultures, because business is legal. Whenever you are signing a document, you are trying to understand the legalities of the other businesses. So try to study other cultures. What are their norms? And be patient. Sense of humor, if you can, or not all of us can boast of sense of humor, but if you can cultivate some sense of humor, try to cultivate it, because most of the awkward situations that we come across can be actually mitigated, can be avoided with the sense of humor. Or if we don't have sense of humor, at least cultivate patience, because this patience gives us an idea of understanding other people and other cultures better. Before I wind up, I just want to draw your attention to one thing. I'm sure most of you watched Kalki movie. Kalki, according to me, I'm not going deep into the, the plot of the film. I'm only when I just watched and I'm thinking of this topic, it just struck me that is an ensemble of different age groups and different cultures. See, Amitabh is an octogenarian. Then you have Kamal Hassan, who is a baby boomer. Then you have Prabhas, probably who is a Gen X. And then you have a director, Nagashwin, who is a very young person. And then you have Deepika Padukone. She is somewhere in between from a different region. Language is a big barrier. I think the only language that binds them together is English, because I'm sure, Hindi, people may not be comfortable with Hindi, Tamil, Telugu. Then you have so many people. You have Disha Patni, who is totally a Gen Z and things like that. So imagine a director who is very young. If people have prejudices based on all these cultural differences, how difficult it would have been for that person to bring such a huge star cast and put up such a magnificent show. All the people who acted there, because we have, whenever we see a show, we see even Amitabh, praising this young guy. So they are able to embrace other cultures. Probably they practiced cultural pluralism and they learned over the years. It is not just the money that lures. It is so many things. If Amitabh says, I am the superstar, why should I listen to him? Nothing will happen. If you see, even the producers, the father is he's an octogenarian, and then his two daughters, male, female, age difference. Somehow when I thought about this topic, it struck me that's the best example of valuing diversity. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I think I'll take leave of you, and I'm open for any questions if you have.
It's a very great session, madam. Really, we really enjoyed. Almost the hall is full.
Thank you so much, sir.
Beyond, there are so many people with the YouTube. They are listening and they are watching your entire program. That
Thank you,
shows
sir.
the kind of interest the audiences and the participants were taken to listen very carefully. It's really a very good session, madam, because understanding, accepting, following the multicultural kind of communications, and because we are living in the global world and we need to understand each other. So,
Yes.
the only one question from my side is, what is the role of the government as well as education institution and the industry towards, this cultural diversity?
First of all, from the government side, I should say that they have to give an opportunity. They should actually be equal opportunity players, merit, opportunity. And all kinds of encouragement that can be given to, less privileged people should be given. And we from our side as educationists, I think we need to, all the educational institutions should have one session at least, on cultural sensitivity. Only then, because we know as educationists, we are shaping the young minds. At that level, if you sow roots of cultural sensitivity, it will go a very long way. And industry definitely, because of the merit, it has to embrace people of different cultures, because only then the industry can progress. They are anyway doing their bit. From our bit, if we can try and do this much, I think this world is a wonderful place.
Very nice answer, madam. With this, I would like to conclude the session. Thank you very much for sparing your valuable time in spite of heavy rain in Hyderabad. You took a lot of pain and then attend the session is a great thing, madam. So a lot of participants were enjoyed really. I would like to
I
thank.
see so many comments from the chat box. Thank you so much for all the feedback that the participants have given.
Yeah.
I'm thankful that nothing happened because of the weather. Sometimes we actually
God is very great. Yeah. Yeah. I'm also thankful to Professor Nandagopal, former president of AIMS, and Professor Sudhir Sharma, the current president of AIMS, and all the board members, Secretary Professor Durga Prasad sir, and then Priya madam, the coordinator, and the technical persons, and the media partner business standard, all the participants, and particularly today's resource person for your valuable time and then spending your words with us. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. My pleasure. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Now we can leave, madam.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Thank you.